This week, Elon Musk said, he said, I'll read the full quote here. This was at a U.S.-Saudi business forum in D.C. this week. He said, "My guess is that if you go out far enough, assuming continued improvements in AI and robotics, which seems likely, money will stop being relevant at some point in the future." Then further elaborated by saying, "But I think at some point currency becomes irrelevant in the context of AI and robots, creating all this abundance." Your book, talks a lot about that future of abundance and deflationary technology, and is really the only Bitcoin book that really gets into that idea in depth and pairs it with this deflationary money that is Bitcoin. What do you think about Elon's statement here? Is Bitcoin like a transition into a world of abundance such that we don't really even need money anymore? There's no function for it?
Yeah, well, 2140 you won't, right?
Yeah.
But at that time, can you imagine being at that time where a forcing function is the only way you could create more value or more money or more Bitcoin, or is getting somebody else's Bitcoin, and you have to provide value to them to do so. So it's a free market, 8 billion people in service of 8 billion people, solving problems at a faster and faster rate, with all the progress going to all of us. That's what Elon doesn't see, and he's talking. It's wild. He either is willfully blind or otherwise. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of ironic that at the same time he says that, he's negotiating for $1 trillion pay package. Mm-hmm. Right. So what does that tell you? Right. The existing system. So it's everything I talked about in the book that people wouldn't see. Right. That they couldn't put these things together. They'd always lived in a control system, and that control system was designed from money. It was never the free market, because the natural state of the free market is deflation. And so from the control system, it would seem normal to play a zero-sum game that would increase control, monopolies, surveillance, technology, all of these things from that control system telling you how do you live your life. Bitcoin's the opposite. Bitcoin is outside of that system. So that system can't be resolved from that system, because debt is lent into existence, and that debt has to have an inflation rate on that debt or it collapses. It has to keep on growing forever. But if the natural state of the free market is deflation, and we automate that with robotics and technology and AI, then we have faster deflation. So from one system, you see faster abundance, you see faster hope, you see faster truth, you see faster everything. And from the other system, you see the inverse. You see faster centralization, you see faster scarcity, you see faster coercion, and so it's a very simple, it seems hard, but it's such a simple exercise. There's really only two parts to it. One, is the natural state of the free market deflation? Yes or no? You're nodding your head. You know it's yes, right? People know it's yes. They spend,
because you're getting more efficient. Like the free market is looking to economize everything, increased efficiency, plus you bring in technologies that have this underlying exponential force like Moore's law.
So let's break it down even more, right? Okay. Everything that comes into existence comes from our mind. All of the things we're using right now, was created by somebody. All of the technology that goes into computer, the chips, all of the pieces came from somebody's mind to be able to create that for you. And all of those things have to compete with what was there before. And you only use the things that give you more value.
Yep.
So if we have to compete in a free market with everyone else trying to give us more value, and we disregard the things that don't give us more value, we only use the things that give us more value, then it would have to be, it's a certainty that the natural state of the free market is deflation.
Right.
And then it would be a certainty that as you develop more and more technology, more and more AI, which came from our mind too, and robotics, which came from our mind too, those things would accelerate. They build on top of previous advances and build and build and build and drive faster and faster deflation forever.
Yeah.
So then you have to ask a different question. Have we ever seen that system? Have we ever lived in that system? No. We've always lived in a control system, and that control system we could call it capitalism, we could call it communism, but a central bank is the tenant of both systems.
Yeah.
And so it's all the same system. It doesn't matter. And so people are fighting all of the, could you have a democracy in a system that had to steal your money at an increasing rate? It wouldn't be a democracy because you don't have a vote for how much they steal your money. All of our concepts for the way the world works could be simplified into the natural state of the free market is deflation. You could teach it to a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
You could teach it to, we compete to provide more value to each other.
Yep.
And prices fall as a result. That's the entire economy. There's nothing more. There's nothing more needed to know ever. That's it. Meaning all of the things we've been taught are from the other system.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've created super simplicity on what this is. Now ask a different question. 2 different questions. Could you solve any problem from the control system that creates the problems? The answer is no. Nothing that you think you could solve is from every problem gets worse from that system. The corollary, only a system outside of that system could resolve that conflict if we've never lived in that system. And so then now you ask, instead of asking what Bitcoin is, you ask what would an open, decentralized, secure protocol bounded by energy look like if it stayed decentralized and secure? What would it price? It would price the first free market that ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
All prices relative to it would be volatile in the beginning because people wouldn't know what I just said. They'd been 5,000 years of human history understanding a different model and all the history books. This would hurt their brain to understand because it'd be so outside their system. But if you had something that was decentralized and secure, bounded by energy, that wouldn't change, wouldn't be co-opted by that other system, then it would be pricing the first free market that ever existed. And relative to it, all prices would fall forever. And so when I question, is my model correct? It's just an if-then statement. If it stays that way, it's for sure imposing that discipline. And the more people that move to it, then you can move your time to it and advance the world you want to see. So I find this whole thing today really fascinating by so many people essentially pricing this new protocol in the piece of paper, and getting scared. Mm-hmm. Which you would expect the control system to try to attack this in every different way.
Sure.
You don't have to. You don't have to do anything. You just have to move your time. You don't have to listen to the control system. You don't have to. You can move your time. You're in the other system. You can just move your time into a system that's never existed before, and you are part of the. You are part of the thing that's giving its resilience and extending it to different levels of the protocol.
John, this is a good spot for your question that we were talking about earlier.
For sure. That's exactly what I was thinking, Brady. And also just for any of the listeners, so I was looking in Elon's Twitter feed for this comment about money and currency not being needed. You won't find that there. It wasn't something he tweeted. He was speaking at a forum a couple of days ago, just for clarity for any of the listeners. Some investment forum is where he gave the quote that Brady gave. The question that I wanted, there's so many questions I could ask Jeff, but the question I wanted to ask you, it's related to this. And it's something I've been thinking about recently because I do believe the natural state of the market is going to be productivity driven deflation. You know, everyone shows up somewhere to work in the morning to do more with less. And you know, that's what we're all after every day.
And John, can I just correct you in the question? The natural state of the free market.
The free market. Important word there. Yeah.
Right? Meaning we've never lived in it.
Got it. So yeah, if we have, you know, something resembling a free market, AI, robotics. Well, actually on that point, could I just say we have experienced it with certain pockets of the economy, right? Like the fact that a flat screen TV went from being $10,000 to being $500, That is that same
you
dynamic.
mean deflation?
So
right?
you've experienced deflation because Moore's law and technology was moving faster than the rate of the money printing, and what would happen is as you printed money into that, those things were moving faster. They were exponentially moving faster, and all the technology was moving faster. But the money had to go into something else, like housing or healthcare or anything else. So it created scarcity somewhere else. So when you look through a filter that gives that that you never saw what TVs would have been, what computers would have been, what houses would have been if you actually lived in a free market. And so that's why this is so confusing, because we measure from the system, and all of our measurements from the system have an error code in that we've never seen before. We don't know what a free market looks like
because we have central banking.
We have central banking, and so it essentially we used to pay in GDP. A Texas Instruments calculator used to be in GDP. You used to pay for a calculator. I used to pay for a calculator. I remember the calculator. And we used to be a fair amount of money. The first one on the App Store cost money. The next one cost less money, was better. Next one cost less money, was better, until it was free. Where does that show up in GDP? It's gone. There is no GDP. So how did GDP increase? It increased because you had to capture that by printing more money, because if the GDP fell and created a deflationary spiral, the debt would all be collapsed, and we lived inside the debt. So all of those things that were supposed to be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, everything, AI are, so if that exists because the prices fall to the marginal cost of production, and the prices fall to the marginal cost of production because entrepreneurs attack margin to create more value. And they constantly attack until there's zero there. And then they move on to the next thing. That's what entrepreneurs do. Because if you can find ways to, you saw somebody else create value, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do better than they did. And they create, and they keep on going until there's nothing there. And it collapses. So prices in a free market always fall to the marginal cost of production. The marginal cost of production of that calculator app is a line of code. A line of code costs zero. Why the calculator app eventually costs zero is what I just described. So if that happens there, what is the line of code created by other lines of code? Zero. AI is free everywhere, globally. That's where we're going.
Yeah. I mean, we still are already, I should say, have great open source models. They're not frontier necessarily, but they're really close, and they're free. And
but then go to the next thing. Every single one of us will use these because it gives us more value. And if a company doesn't use these, or if they pay for the most expensive one and it doesn't give us as much value, we won't use the company anymore. Because somebody else will use a better one for cheaper and faster, and we'll use the company that gives us more value. So this is where we have to really drive this. We are a part of the free market in any one of our choices. We're making it happen. There is no they. And so if you're measuring what I just described outside of Bitcoin, you're inside this global panopticon. That's this system that has to be able to control, influence, drive you to scarcity. Believe there's somebody else at fault rather than you, to divide you, to keep its control over you.